Hi, welcome to another episode of Home Projects with Carpenter. I'm Andy Carpenter, and the project I've got is to update the outside of my house. I'm gonna actually paint the outside of the house, and I'm gonna do another video on just the exterior painting of that. But for this one, I wanted to target a specific area, and that's my rock walls. I've got these columns that have rocks, and they're all over the house. There's a little bit over on one side. I'll show you a little bit over on this side of the house. You can see kind of more of these kind of rocks. They're everywhere around our house. Inside the house, we have two fireplaces, and they have that same type of rocks. So what I want to do is update those and update the look and feel of those with going more of a monochromatic, some gray scale type of rock colors, more like kind of granite look to it. And so what I'm doing is a series of 3 different main colors. A light color, which is a really light gray, a medium gray, and then more of a really dark kind of charcoal gray. I'm gonna mix those kind of interspersed, and I've already started some of it over here, so you can see. And those grays are gonna then, most of the time when you see a rock, it's not one color in particular. It has variations of other shades. So I'm gonna take the other 2 shades and kind of paint in a little bit of some variations so that you have a little bit of color contrast within the rocks themselves. So I've already done that with 3 of the different colors. I still have a few more to do. I've got like this one, and I've kind of speckled some of the darker ones, the medium kind of gray, and then the really light gray. I've done that over a lot of the area, but I'm gonna end up kind of completing the task with, once I get done with all the base colors, kind of with a small paintbrush, kind of fill in some of those gaps and make things look a little bit more varied, so they have more of a look and feel of like a granite style of rock. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so what I wanna do is give you a little bit of a progress update on the painting. So the column is pretty much done. I did, on this particular column, I did 3 shades of gray, and I had a charcoal, really kind of a deep charcoal gray, and then I had a really light colored gray, and then when I mixed those 2, I came up with that medium shade. And what I did, once I had those 3 shades of gray with paint, I actually used a 2 parts water, 1 part paint ratio. So I mixed those in a little container and really lightly brushed it. I took a rag. I had to have a rag underneath because since it was so loose, so thin, it would start dripping onto the other shades. But one thing I noticed actually as it was dripping onto some of the other rocks, I actually liked having a little bit of contrast because typically rocks aren't just one particular color. So what I did was I started with one color, and I would try to get like a different spread, so they were spread out in different areas where I didn't have too many that were close to one another touching. And then another thing I did was, as I went to the different colors, other colors that I had done previously, when I had like for example, the charcoal gray, as I was doing the charcoal, I would take the brush and I would just kind of lightly, with a really, really dry brush, once most of the paint was off, then I would just kind of brush a little bit on one of the other rocks just to give a little bit of contrast so they weren't all of the same type of color. The other thing I did on this particular one was I did no grout. So I left the grout as is, and I actually don't like that as much. So if you notice, the grout here is more of the original that kind of grayish, tannish color grout. So it really stands out. So the rocks pop really well, but I don't know that I actually like how it looks in comparison to the other one. Let me show you another version of what I did, and this is, I'll show you kind of a different method on this one. So I did a different method on this one, and this was a little unique. What I did was I used my sprayer with the light color gray, and as I was spraying some of the kind of more normal areas of the house, as I had the sprayer, I just ended up spraying all of the rocks. So if you notice, in this case, I have the gray, that light color gray on the rock and on the grout. Then after the whole thing was sprayed and it had kind of a pure mixture of that light gray, then I took the other 2 colors and did kind of a light wash on those. And I went minimalistic, so I went a little bit lighter. So just did a couple that were more of that medium gray, some of the dark gray. I just kind of lightly went over it so it doesn't pop as much. And I actually like how those ones looked a little bit better than the other ones. So here, I'll show you the difference. Okay, so this is the side that I sprayed, like I mentioned before. You can really tell the difference between these 2. So
between where I didn't spray and where I sprayed. You can see the original grout really stands out. So I don't really like that. I think I'm going to spray the other side.
So that's it. Really appreciate you watching. Hope you liked the video. If you did, just hit like or subscribe. Also, like to get a few more subscribers, but appreciate the feedback if you have any comments. But that's basically taking some old rocks and just painting them so that they actually have a little bit more life and looks a little more modern. So anyway, we'll catch you on the next one, and thanks for watching.